I don't know if I could pull this off today. Like, all these people are so busy today, but we gathered in Holbrook. I know I wanted my dad's truck in this photo shoot.
And those were so much fun because you didn't know what kind of magic was going to come out of it, but you knew something cool was happening.
In this era of like streetwear promo type things, it's always like a party, and I'm like, well, what's the version of that for us? That's just like gathering and eating pretty much. And we were gonna show the butchering in this whole thing too, but we decided not to. In the actual promo video, all the models are cutting meat, they're actually tossing dough, they're actually putting it in the oil. Like, it's just normal for all of us to do that. We didn't like have to front anything, and then we just all ate at the end. These kind of moments were really rare and really fun, and they did really create such a mood and such a vibe in these beginning times of where native art was heading.
Now that you showed the images, I remember this happening, and it's so cool. But just to look back at it and how much things have changed is insane to me. Well, hello everyone. My name is Jessica Metcalf. I am Turtle Mountain Chippewa, based out of North Dakota, and I am the owner of Beyond Buckskin, which is a website and business dedicated to promoting Native American made fashion, jewelry, art, and accessories. So please take a moment to subscribe to Beyond Buckskin, to Indigenous House, and to Jared Yazzie, who is on YouTube under OxDx Clothing. And we have a very special guest with us. I've known Jared for 15 years. And so I would love for Jared to introduce himself however he wants to introduce himself.
Hello, Yat Jared Yazzie, and Ashi Hin Shlan, Torachini Basis Chin Kia Ani A Dashache Tohana Deshanele. I'm from Tisyakin, Arizona, which is Holbrook, Arizona. It's a little border town right off the I-40. I always describe it as the town from Cars. It's like exactly that town. So it's very touristy. It's very kind of weird. I feel like I got my start as a go-between between Navajo storytelling to a general audience, and I think that's helped me within my business. But I make designs and clothing. I've been doing that for 17 years, since 2009, and my brand is called OxDx Clothing. I do a lot of screen printing in-house. I am currently sitting in my storefront, a physical storefront we own in Tempe, Arizona. So we operate business out of here, and we do screen printing in the back, and we also have storefront in the front, which we sell our own products, other people's products, and we offer business, like small business events.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with us. I really want to talk about a couple of things. Basically, the beginnings, since you've been around for almost 2 decades. A lot of people today don't really remember the beginnings and all of the wild things that we did. I always tell people, do as I say, not as I do, because I already made the mistakes, okay? So you talk about the beginnings, talk about just like the journey. You had some really like amazing career, moments, and then, where you are now. So if we can, let's start looking at some images from back in the day, your favorite OG designs, some of the best sellers, right? And how that beginning started, because you were into art and graphic art and screen printing on t-shirts. Were you working at a shop at that time?
Way before, this is before, way back. My journey started at the University of Arizona in a little dorm room, little setup. These are the very first, very emo phase, peace sign. That's my buddy Juana. So my first little sticker that I made way back in the day. So it's little, always had this like censorship type of theme to it. But this is the homies that I exclusively asked at the beginning if they would be interested in purchasing my first design. It's very simple. I was just messing around with Photoshop. That's how I make this weird cloud-looking imagery. But it's like a little kid face. And he has Dreamer across his bandana, and he's dreaming. And Overdose was the name of the brand way back in the day. So these were all like the people I knew from college, and I did a little pre-order and sold my first shirts through them. They called them the Dream Team, and they're the only ones that have this specific shirt. And it was a fun time. I had little powwow setups. This is me at Tubi Market in Tuba City. So it was just a lot of hustling, a lot of grinding, in-house photo shoots, fashion shows, and bars. This is my little bar setup. But I really got my start from doing hand-painted tees. I taught myself a lot of these things, played around with different effects, like drawing, taking a picture with a digital camera, or just scanning them and uploading them onto a free drawing program and drawing over them digitally and creating something from that. Those were my first types of designs until I got to meet more people that were in the field and got to ask a lot more questions and just learned from the fly and learned from YouTube pretty much. But I used to do these hand-painted tees when I first started. And I would just sort of go off script, do a lot of stenciling, creating these just random patterns on tees, screen printing over them. And like this tee specifically, I just auctioned off on Facebook. I would upload these photos on Facebook. Under the comments, you could bid up $1, and I would end it at midnight. And it would just be like, oh, cool, $38, $39. It was cool because I got to see like where my pricing sat. I got to see.
Yes. I loved those. Like you would price things and you discovered that you were underpricing your
Yeah,
items. Because anytime you did an auction, it sold for way more.
yeah.
And you could see like who was bidding too, like who likes your stuff. You could see who your target audience is. You could see how much people are paying attention and how engaging it was. And it was all on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. Super public. Facebook was still very interactive at the time, and that's where most of the college kids were at the time, and that was fun. It was a fun place to be. Your stuff actually got put in front of your friends, and that was great. And people that followed you, and it was a great way to test a lot of things. And like you said, I undersell myself even today. I'm like not great at that. So this helped me at least figure out those types of things. But people were buying these items for, I think my highest was about 140. I may have got to like 180 at one point, but these are just random like for sale items I would find and just thought they were cool. And at least they had like a flat enough print area that I could like paint something on them. Yeah, it was just me being creative, and I just would be able to pocket a few bucks and kind of put that back into the business.
And that's what we
Yeah.
were all doing at the beginning is just whatever money was made went right back into the business. There
Yeah.
was no, paying yourself. It just went right back in to elevate what you were doing because we all just had so many great ideas that the only way we could do it was through these creative ways to bootstrap a business.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, who do we have to look up to figure out how a business is actually run? Like we're kind of figuring it out on our own. So that's what these like things were. They were experimental and just figuring out, I guess, my own style. I don't know if I could tell you what my style is even currently, but I played around with a lot of different things at the beginning, and I really loved the stencil art. I was really inspired by graffiti, and clothing was sort of the easiest transition because what someone wears is like a billboard for what they're feeling, the statement that they want to make. I always thought that Native people are pretty like self-reserved, at least in times of these big old public areas. We're not super loud as much as like a non-native or a white guy would be. You know what I mean? Like we don't push ourselves to the front to be want to be like super loud. And these were like ways that I could be. You know, I was in college at the time. I was in these classes where there's like 500 kids. I didn't feel loud enough in these classes that I could be heard. So clothing was a way to make statements, was a way to make conversations, and at least like found these like-minded friends around me that all felt the same way about our systems or the things we believed in, and it was just a really easy way to make connections. I used to start signing them on the bottom, used to start dating them, and I don't know who owns these now, but it would be really interesting to figure out who actually bought these pieces.
We'll have to put this out there because people got stuff in their closets that they're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I have that. Yeah.
that'd be wild because I don't got a memory, man, so I just like forget that these exist and who bought them, and like I would really want to know who still has these. And I did a few canvases back in the day and stuff too, and I don't remember who has those either. This is like the early hustle days when we used to just do whatever on whatever we had. That's native art. Like we reach for the tools around us to express ourselves and to tell stories. So our ancestors used to do that with wool and pottery, clay, paint, you know what I mean? And now we have other tools. We have digital tools. We have t-shirts, we have cotton, we have a lot of different things that could translate the same story, and it's just kind of on us on how we want to do that. And then another early day things, limited editions. Like a lot of people weren't doing like limited editions back in the day. And I used to have a setup that I would take to the pop-ups and stencil on, hand paint these numbers onto the shirts that I sold and tried to dry them on the spot and give it to people. Again, I wonder who has these actual things, because that was sort of a pain to do on the spot. I don't know. But I had a lot of ambition back in those days. Like I probably wouldn't do that now.
You had like an infinite amount of energy and fuel, and you just kept going. Because I remember, like, I was doing like probably two events a month, and that was hard for me. But you were doing probably like six or eight a month.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and back in these days I was like I said, I was a little like these are some college homies acting out my sticker design. That little sticker design, they're acting it out right there. I just had these college friends that I like had these ideas with, bounced them off with, and I became a dropout at the University of Arizona. I just knew that I wanted to make more stuff. That's just where my passion went. So I did go to like community college for a little bit. I did take like a screen printing class. I took a digital art class. I took a photography class, a video editing class. Pretty much everything I wanted to run the brand, I took an intro class to. I might have failed most of them, but I did get the tools. Like I got to use their computers. I got to use the programs. I got to use whatever thing I learned and just sort of apply it to what I wanted to do. Ended up in Phoenix and was doing all these things part-time while working a full-time job. So I used to work at a screen printing shop, and eventually they figured out I knew how to print, so they put me on press, and then they eventually learned that I knew how to do some design, so they put me on the art desk. So I'd learned pretty much hands-on from that job, pretty much everything that I know now. I just got to like see all these processes. I got to see how people were printing things. I got to touch and feel products that came in. I got to go to the front desk and ask like, hey, like where did we order these shirts? Because I really like these shirts, and just kind of figure out the back end of everything and sort of like the best processes to print things. So I think that's what makes OxDx, like our products, a little bit special, is because I design it with the knowledge that it's going to be screen printed. So I make a lot of decisions in the process of making it that
Yeah.
gonna benefit better on press. It's gonna
Yeah.
look better, it's gonna feel better, it's gonna have all these benefits because I've kind of figured out how I wanted to do it from start to finish.
Yeah, and I know a lot of, new artists that have the piece or, the design, and then they're like, okay, but I want it on leggings or whatever. And
Yeah.
so, but what you have kind of figured out is all of these parts need to happen at the same time. You can't just have a design and then be like, now how do I get it onto a t-shirt? You were like,
Hmm.
oh, this is how I'm going to get it onto a t-shirt or a jacket. So this is what I have to do at the beginning. These are the decisions to make at the beginning, which
Totally.
is really
Even when
great.
it comes even when it comes down to like advertising or like creating a line and how I'm gonna roll it out, like there are like back end ideas. I'm like, I have this image that I want. How do I dress this all up? Especially like with shows, fashion shows. I think about both ends and sort of figure out how to figure out the middle. The middle is actually getting more difficult these days because it's more non-screen printing things we're trying to do. You got to learn how to do some embroidery. You got to learn how fabric printing works. and just like creating clothing. And a lot of these projects were just like these are homies. They're not exactly like native models. There wasn't enough shows to have them. There wasn't enough shows to have like a standard native model that did a lot of different things.
Right.
So OXDX models were always just homies that I convinced, or they had interests, or I put out a call. Like this shoot specifically, I don't know if I could pull this off today. Like all these people are so busy today and they're also such in different places, but we gathered in Holbrook. I know I wanted my dad's truck in this photo shoot.
No way, you guys went way out to Holbrook.
Yeah, so we met in Holbrook. We had a videographer from Flagstaff. We had a photographer from Phoenix. My brother was a photographer. He came in from LA. I did some of the photography. And then our Anishinaabe homie, Leia, she came in from Pennsylvania at the time. And then our other Anishinaabe buddy, Shane, he came in from somewhere. We were all at this shoot. We had Bluebird Pinups at this shoot. They came in from Winter Rock, California, Phoenix. We all like found our way to Holbrook and we just did this shoot.
And those were so much fun because
Yeah,
you didn't know what kind of magic was going to come out of it, but you knew something cool was happening.
yeah, definitely. This is a big old crew. This is during harvest season. It's like, how do we get people together? And that's food. In this era of like streetwear, this era of clothing, like promo type things, it's always like a party. And I'm like, well, what's the version of that for us? That's just like gathering and eating pretty much. And we were going to show the butchering in this whole thing too, but we decided not to. And in the actual promo video, all the models are cutting meat. They're actually tossing dough. They're actually putting it in the oil. Like, it's just normal for all of us to do that. We didn't like have to front anything, and then we just all ate at the end, you know what I mean? And it was like, yeah, that these kind of moments were really rare and really fun, and they did really create such a mood and such a vibe in these beginning times of where native art was heading.
Oh, that's so cool. Now that you showed the images, I remember this happening and it's so cool, but just to look back at it, so it's like a decade ago.
Hmm.
And how much things have changed is insane to me. But so
Yeah.
by 2015, you were pretty popular, but before that, do you remember when you first started seeing your designs in the wild?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. It had to be, yeah, really random, and I was always very excited. I remember the wildest one was the Smithsonian piece that I did for the New York Smithsonian. They commissioned me to do a design for their gift shop during Native Fashion Now. That was really exciting because there was like, what, 60 plus some like incredible Native artists. And I got picked along with Jamie Akuma. We both got picked to do a design piece for the gift shop. And I was just like tripping. It was my first big commission job. And that was sold around New York. And I was getting like tagged in random, like just, I don't know, New York felt so big at the time. It still is, but it's like people just random people were wearing my stuff, and I was like just really tripping out over it. I was still here in Arizona, and I remember I did Denver March powwow, and I was just walking around downtown Denver, and someone had the specific Smithsonian shirt. I grabbed a picture with her because I was like, I designed this shirt, because that to me just felt so random. It was specifically a New York piece that you had to buy in New York. I'm in Arizona, and we both found our way in Denver, and it was just a trip. So that one was one that was pretty special.
I was up at, Turtle Mountain here in North Dakota, and we were at the casino on the res here.
Yeah.
And this guy walks by wearing your Miss Rep shirt. And we didn't sell it at Beyond Buckskin at that particular time. So I know he bought it directly from you.
Hmm.
And I just tripped out. I was like, oh my God. And he was just kind of like, what are you doing to me? I'm like, can I get a picture? Because it's just, back then, when we say small batch, we mean small batch.
Oh yeah.
It's very limited amount that goes out at a given time. So it's not like you're gonna see a bunch of this everywhere, whatever. So I remember that moment was really fucking cool. I think I sent it to you. Just how expansive you had reached to, be in Belcourt, North Dakota.
Yeah, it was always the funnest thing it was to get texts or tags from random people. I still vibe on that a lot. I'm still like a pretty shut in. I stay in my little cave and I'm doing work and stuff. But like recently, it's kind of become a thing again where people are sending me photos and I'm like, oh, this is great. Like it feels so good. And they're always like those special pieces. Like there's these special cut and sew pieces that we've made that there are only one piece out there. And I
Yeah.
do really love when they, make an appearance somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. And people still, pull them out. Like they aren't a thing that people give away or get rid of. And
Mm.
with your Native Americans discovered Columbus, you did different variations of that, like different colorways. This is the classic design, and I'll see the different colorways pop up every October.
Yeah, I can tell different eras of OXDX because of the back tag. I have certain years where they were different that I printed all year, one specific back tag. Or like you said, like there's a specific colorway where I'm like, oh, I did that for like this event, or I did that for ASU Powwow, or I only printed those for some students in Rochester. Like it's crazy that you have it. But I like putting those little Easter eggs in my own stuff and finding out exactly when and where you bought certain things.
Yeah, that one is still iconic. So you have a couple that keep coming back that
Yep.
people do not want to get rid of.
And yeah, there's a lot that people continually ask about, and it gets tough because it's like I have a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
You want to check that out, and then once that one's done and sold, they start asking about that 2 years from now, and I'm like, man, like, can I get the love right now though?
Yes, yeah. I noticed that too. It's like that was available on the website for, X amount of time, and you want it now that it's not available?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're not gonna do a reprint. And then, I'll talk to the artist or the designer when we were doing the t-shirt club, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do another run in a different colorway, sort of thing.
Hmm.
So if people ask about it enough, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But keep coming back, I guess. I noticed you brought back the pattern tee, which I loved. We sold so many with Beyond Buckskin, the original colors of red and turquoise. It
Hmm.
was so vibrant that and this is when I started cutting out the necklines, doing the swoop necks, and that really took off. And my eyes started hurting because I was staring at this red and turquoise colorway where like cutting everything out, folding it, and then I started seeing it like everywhere. When
Yeah.
I'm like eating a sandwich, I'm like, oh my gosh, I still see it. It's so vibrant and it's amazing. It looks great on people and people love it.
Yeah. If you notice this, it's like the diagonal pattern, right? That specifically, it's based off of this hand painted piece that I did. I just really loved how I painted the specific one. And when it's like the one and done, the original's gone, I was just like, man, I just loved how it looked. So eventually I came out with these. And these, yeah, this specific shirt's an old school shirt. This pattern just became something that I kept reproducing in different ways. And the diagonal shape is something that I hope people start to identify with my work. So these dresses, again, have that specific downward diagonal pattern attached to it. The inspiration from the start was music and was punk, was DIY. We hopefully like try to keep that theme going through everything. I think even to this like all the first stuff you've seen to like this is the last photo shoot we've done. She's got docs on. She did her makeup her own way. She's got a little knife sheath in here. We actually designed this sash belt too as well. This is like a utilitarian piece. We made it so you could add a sheath to it, so you can have a knife. We have little carabiners on the side, so you can attach kind of whatever kind of tools you're using at the time. We have loops that you can attach little tools to. We have little U-hooks that you can clip in your own carabiner things. And it's just supposed to be like a tool belt of sorts, but it's our traditional sash belt, you know what I mean? But tie in that DIY-ness, tie in the like innovation of how we can move forward through Navajo style and how to make it utilitarian, how to, because that's how all our pieces were back in the day. It wasn't just fashion, it was needed. And I want to keep carrying on that idea that we can keep creating for ourselves, that we can keep storytelling pieces. And this, yeah, so this is a super, it's made out of nylon, it's really heavy duty. And yeah, paired it with our skirt that I printed I printed this design pattern all in-house. I wanted the hand feel to it. I wanted my specific stamp on it, which is screen printing. Like, I just have a lot of pride in screen printing and my ability to like make something happen as far as like screen printing goes.
And you
So
have a video of you doing this process on like a red material, that meticulous, tedious process of lining up each block, which
yeah.
you really excel at that. It's almost like your meditation in a sense,
Hmm.
where you can just kind of zone out and focus on getting these things precise.
Yeah, I think you can see it in the video. I'm like really zoned in.
Yeah.
And like, because it's just such a tricky fabric. It's so slick. It doesn't stick to my palette as much as I want it to stick. So it doesn't stay. If I put it down, even if I just kind of wave over it, it'll move slightly to where I want it to move to. And that was like the process for every piece. This is a 12 by 12 inch block that we put on a screen. And this design originally doesn't repeat organically. Like, I had to do that on my own. So
Hmm.
I had to go back to my original OG diagonal pattern piece and redo it as a repeated pattern. And that was like such a mathematically like mind melting thing to do. And just yeah, now it perfectly, if you move it straight to the side of it in either direction, it lines up perfectly to repeat the pattern. So that was a feat on its own that started in the graphic design process. And then it went to the screen and then went out and shopped this fabric. This is Japanese satin. It's more expensive fabric, so we had to be careful with it, you know what I mean? And the process was just moving it block by block, lining it up perfectly. And this was originally for a plus size model. So we designed for the plus size model. We knew we wanted her to wear this, and it involved more fabric. So it was just like I had to get that print right. If I mess up from the start, it starts to be wonky somewhere.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it has to be right on because once you get off, exactly like you said, once you get wonky, there's no coming back.
Yeah, yeah. It'll just continue to be weird. So it's nice that a skirt will just have this flowiness to it. So it's a little grace, gives me some grace as far as like people aren't really finding the mistakes in it. I can obviously see some stuff, but that's just me as an artist.
Wow, the material like using that satin, that shiny, also allows, just like in that picture, allowed the warm lighting to reflect off of it. So you can see the
Mhm.
difference where this one's, it's the same skirt, right? But it seems more fiery, which is
Yeah,
really cool. I love
yeah.
it.
If you get out into the light with it, it's gonna like really catch different things and look great. Especially with the reaction of the ink too. The inks kind of has its own shininess to it as well.
I love it.
So this was the other piece that was like a process, and that was this original pattern. I did an old collab with the hundreds. This was part of that collab, and this was big in the No Dapple days. This is big in the big camps that were set up, and the homies I was collabing with, they all came from those camps. We were looking off imagery of what was happening there, and we were just throwing out ideas on what we could create. I threw out an idea of a Turtle Island camo piece because they were met with militarized police, in their whole getup against regular Native people. And to me, I was like, camo. I don't want that camo idea to be like military. I wanted it to be like hunting, like a useful tool for it. Like
Yeah,
hunting
like
and
blending
how
into the
military
earth
uses it.
too, kind of like, right? With
Yeah.
hunters, you kind of blend in that kind of camo, and then so doing the Turtle Island print
Yeah.
makes sense.
And that's where these pieces originally came from, this little Turtle Island design that I did. Again, imagining it all as a line. I have multiple designs across that have this Turtle Island image. Yeah, I just threw out the idea, like, Turtle Island camo, we should make something like that. And the idea was, like, really well received, but in our time frame, we couldn't make fabric prints. So it just sort of got pushed to the side. And around, like, 2020, 2021, I was just, like, kind of piecing around different things, different ideas, and was like, for this fashion show that I wanted to put on, I want to actually make this camo. So this piece is made with that little Turtle Island image. This little turtle with the North America kind of in the background. There's different pieces behind it with the different brown textures. And it does have wording that says, "Allegiance to the land, not to a flag." Because the original graphic had to do more with borders and flags, just that division and that nationalism type theme. it was just like I'm forfeiting all those ideas of it. Turtle Island is who I'm pledging my allegiance to. So this skirt is again printed. This is screen printed with 6 different colors. Again, I had to put them side by side by side and design it in a way that it looks seamless when it's printed right next to each other. So playing around with the graphic, making it repeatable and look sort of seamless. 2 screens to the actual fabric. This is the final product of that, which is an accumulation of like 20 hours of work or something like that. I know the printing itself was 10. I was supposed to make 2 skirts out of this. We were supposed to have a secondary plus size model walking this skirt, and it's just so much fabric, and then my setup, there's heating elements involved with it, and I rotated it underneath the heat when I was supposed to move the heat. And it's just like, my mind was kind of melted at that point. I was printing, rotating, and I had a habit of moving my flash every time, and just this one time I didn't. So I had all this big bunch of Japanese satin that I looked through. That was really nice fabric that went under the heat, and it just like melted into this solid clump. So I had to and it was like 3 a.m. or something, and I had to hit up my seamstress and was like, hey, can you still work with this much fabric? And it turned out that she could. So we were able to make 1 skirt, and it was supposed to be 2. But this skirt specifically has, again, going back to utilitarian, it has these cargo pockets on the side, and it has little U-hooks along the waist where you're able to hook on anything you want to.
That's awesome. I have 2 questions. For people who don't really know what Turtle Island is, do you want to elaborate a little bit on what Turtle Island is to you?
I like the fact that it seems like ancestors knew way more about our Earth than it seems like they could possibly have known. You know what I mean? According to science and all the tools and stuff we have today. And it's just sort of the fact that we have these stories about America landmass being, the stories are it's on the back of a turtle traveling. These are accepted across a bunch of different nations. So it's crazy that there's these stories happening in different areas, and it's also just a coincidence that if you do look down from space at North America, you make out a little turtle, and I'm like, this is such a is it a coincidence? It's just it gets my mind kind of moving about how much our ancestors knew, and that reflects in a lot of different things, like how much Hopis knew about the stars, how much Navajos know about the stars. There's just so much knowledge and stories behind these things that it seems almost impossible, but they were possible. So to me, it's just such a mind trip of how much we've known. And I think, again, if we revert those knowledges and practice it into today, I think the world will be better off. So this sort of design is sort of a statement of let's return native land back to native people. I think it would be better off if we did that. If we used our knowledge and our practice, because we're treating our land like it's family. We're treating our land like it's our mother, and that's what it needs. You know what I mean? Because it gets so much neglect from current society and capitalism, and it's going through a rough spot. But
Yeah.
I know it'll heal. And I know it'll
Yeah.
it doesn't exactly need humans on it to survive. So it's really what do we want for our future? Do we want to stick around or not? Because it's going to be here. It's just
Yes. I'm grateful that I'm here. I'm like, thanks. I'm still
yeah,
here.
yeah,
Thanks. But with the borders, you're down in Arizona, I'm up in North Dakota, the turtle's head, I'm up here, and you're down, in the middle of the turtle, and you can't just chop up a turtle. Have you tried to? The back of the turtle is really strong.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so thank you for elaborating on how powerful that is to you.
Yeah, our original graphic, like I said, was the sort of take on flags and nationalism and that kind of stuff. And I do have a lot of angry designs, and I have to sometimes think about okay, let's not be angry today, Jared.
So
Let's
let's
maybe
put
think of
some
something
flowers
positive.
on there.
It's just growth. It is renewal, and it's just what's the more positive message about it? I had to think about it. So
Yeah.
Save What We Have Left is also a statement that we've used in our graphics for a lot of years. And Save What We Have Left is just a statement that also states that we've lost things. There's an impermanence. It's like nothing exists forever. We could lose a lot of different things. Native people are at risk of losing our languages and our traditional practices at the hands of colonization and genocide. Like, we have to admit that those things can be like non-existent. So it is on like next generations to carry on. So Say What We Have Left is that kind of statement. What's left? Let's keep it going because things can be gone.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so in this case, it's a statement about the land, and where we live.
I always get like ornery, angry too. Like I'm an Anishinaabe, I'm Chippewa, I'm way up here. Like that's what we do. It's our natural. We're like rah. We're very
Yeah.
loud and vocal about things. When people say like, "Oh, we're losing our language," I'm like, "No, our language was, beaten out of an entire crucial couple generations of our people. Our traditional practices were stolen from us. But we need to save what we have. We need to protect what we have left. We need to keep it going. Exactly. It's like we have to constantly remind people, like, no, 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 our ancestors, our people, us, we share the bloodline of the people who already saw that this was a turtle. They already knew the importance of this being a turtle's back and that it's stronger as a whole, and that we need to not divide it all up, right? It's important to constantly remind people about stuff like that and incorporate language and attitudes, like your grandma anarchy shirt, I love. For people who don't know it, I know that, not everybody likes it, but I love it because
Yeah.
my grandmas were little Spitfires. I would never fuck with them, you know.
Hmm.
Your version of this is a little bit different than what I get from it. So do you want to talk a little bit about this piece?
Yeah, I mean, I do get a lot of people reacting to it and a lot of statements about it. But that's what art is supposed to be. Art is supposed to be a way that makes you think differently and be open to other people's ideas. But yeah, the anarchy symbol or anarchy in general is just like an ungovernable. You don't believe in government control. And I think as much as like some punkers or some people currently want to like tote that as their ideology, I think our grandparents like lived that specifically. We don't. It wasn't like an aesthetic thing. We're not out in our studded belts or our leather jackets, but our grandparents did believe these ideas and did physically fight against the government for survival. So I think that itself is very punk rock. I feel like they are very just people not to mess with. So in this version, yeah, I got grandma here, and she's weaving a little anarchy rug because that was her beliefs. That's kind of my idea put on it, and this might be my favorite graphic that I've made. It definitely does, like I said, it gets reactions from different people. There are people that do feel offended by different things about it. They don't want her weaving that. Some people are like, "Oh, I'd buy it if it didn't have the anarchy sign," and I'm like, "You're missing the whole point. Then that is just this is
That's
just an image."
literally the point.
Yeah. It's so there's definitely so many conversations that I've had to have about it. And yeah, just like the whole ideology of anarchism is something that I've sort of had to like deal with on my own too, about what exactly do I believe in. And
Mm.
um because it's changed too. Like I might have called myself an anarchist back in the day, but I think it's a little different these days. But yeah, I did have a lot of beliefs, strong beliefs in this. And like I said, we were fueled by DIY and the music scene. So this was a very punk rock feeling to me to make something.
You and I were listening to MXPX and all that fun stuff, back in the 90s. I was a teenager, like Dropkick Murphys. And my mom heard it as like white supremacist music.
Hmm.
Like in her head, it was she's like, it sounds like a bunch of skinheads, and I'm like, no, mom. And then I'm like, is it? Like, I had to really look into it to be like, am I a white supremacist now? Because I like this music. And then when you listen to like Dropkick Murphys, they're all about, the people, the working class, the people who work. And having just like fair living circumstances, and they've been very vocal. They've lost a lot of fans, but with MXPX and the change or the adaptation of your brand name, which started off as Overdose, like you
Mhm.
called your brand Overdose, and then you shortened it to be an O and a D.
Mhm.
And then instead of a period, it was an X,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it became OXDX.
Mhm.
And I loved the idea of overdosing. Do you want to talk a little
Yeah.
bit more about overdosing?
Yeah, even your other story about what your mom thought about punk music and what you thought about punk music does kind of reference back to the beginning of the name OXDX. Also, I got that name from a Lupe Fiasco spoken word track on one of his albums. So Lupe Fiasco is a very dope rapper. If you listen to his stuff, it's like just so intricate and smart. And there was this track called Baba Says Cool for Thought, and specifically in that spoken word poem, she's talking about how things can appear cool in the specific setting you're in. So she talks about like selling drugs in the corner could be cool if you're in a specific area. You think this person's got money, you think this person's got power. Sure, they're cool. Or maybe the other example is like riding around in white hoods is cool in a certain area, and that's talking about Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy, and according maybe they got some googie-eyed little baby watching their dad do these like crazy acts, and they looking up to them thinking it's like a cool thing to do. But she lists out a whole bunch of these things, and then at the end, the last line says, "Check your ingredients before you overdose on the cool." And that's really just sort of like self-reflection. Check on what you're consuming, like what your beliefs are. Like let's check in with yourself about it. Is this actually a cool thing or is it not? And the word overdose hit me very specifically. Just stood out to me. I was, like I said, I was in college. I was on the brink of flunking out, and I was just like, I was not having a great time. And I come from a family that that's the duties. You're supposed to go to school. You're supposed to go to college. Both my parents went to college, and they were both the only ones in their families to go and graduate from college. They both got like 8 siblings apiece. You know what I mean? So they're like the one in the huge family that made it to college, and they had kids together. Their kids who need to go to college, and they need to have an education, and that's like the step you're supposed to do. Because again, our next, the generation above us, our parents and stuff, they do have that American dream mentality kind of, pushed into them. They believe that if they work hard enough that they can get as good as the next guy. Luckily we don't think that. Our next generation thinks that even less. You know what I mean? Like we kind of understand these power dynamics now. But I was just like really fed up with the system and the school system, and just jumping all these hoops I didn't want to for the things I wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn, and it felt so weird to be pulled around in these different areas. And I found a lot of solace when I went back home, when I went back to my grandparents' house to watch them take care of cornfields, take care of livestock, to take care of their neighbors through the stuff they're growing, and just providing for everybody. It seemed like a more simple and straightforward existence, and I didn't find myself like having this anxiety or having these bad thoughts or just feeling like I wasn't wanted when I was back home. And I took that with me, so that word overdose hit me pretty hard, because it was like that's how I kind of feel here in this college setting. I look around and everyone's really consumed in their own thing. They're really self-centered about what they're doing, and yeah, overdose became the name that I took. And then we changed. I was trying to trademark it, and it was already taken. So I was like, okay, we can't do it. Overdose Clothing's taken. So that's where it comes in. Like MXPX comes in, old school Christian punk band. You know what I mean? That's what I was allowed to listen to back in the day. They kind of have the same story. They were magnified plaid. MXPX comes from magnified plaid. So OXDX comes from those same type of X marks that I used to do in graffiti
Yeah.
by making it an acronym. You know what I mean? Shortening it, not writing overdose, writing OD using the X's. So it is an extra like tribute. OXDX is very simple, 4 letters, very super sacred Navajo way. Like it's good vibes for that way. And I
Tradish.
just yeah, tradition. And I rolled with it. OXDX is just, I thought, rolled really well off the tongue, and it was just something that was like I said, the simplicity of 4 letters to create stuff with. People still ask me how to pronounce the name. I think I was asked yesterday how to pronounce the name.
Like OxDox.
Yep. Everyone reads it like that, and I'm like, okay, it's not that. That's the story behind the name. We rolled with it since probably 20. It was really early. I think I only was overdosed for about half a year or something. And OXDX was born probably in 09 still.
Thank you so much for listening to our interview with Navajo artist Jared Yazzie, the owner of OxDx Clothing. Please subscribe to Indigenous House and Beyond Buckskin to be updated when new episodes drop. Thank you.